by the end of this week, that way you can have something to look at before the full court meeting, but it's basically like all the other years, it will look the same, it'll be, it'll show you what we started with the budget, any changes that we made, the expenses or revenues that were actually, posted, and then the adjustments that we need to make to reconcile every single account, so it'll be revenues and expenses.
You think it'll be ready for Tuesday night's meeting?
Yes.
Cool. So we'll pass our cleanup budget for 21 in Tuesday night's regular full court meeting for March. Nothing out of the ordinary in our February expenses. If you go down to the very bottom figure, our grand total, for February was $126,802.80. And I didn't catch anything. Kelly, anything that of note to you out of the ordinary, unusual?
I did not see anything.
Yeah, I didn't either. Looking at our, fund balances at the end of February 28th, we had 1.404,825 in county general. Checking account, we had 6,930,428 in our CD fund. So we're a little over $8 million in county general. We had 3.9 million in the revenue replacement fund that had been moved over from the rescue plan. Landfill, again, doing really well. Landfill trust fund at 983. CD, the county roads are in excellent shape, Judge. Over $3.1 million between your checking account at 826 and your CD fund at 2.373. About as good a county road fund as I can remember ever having seen. So
Tony's done a great job.
they have for a fact. The economic development CD fund is 7.8 million and our checking account at 5.3 million. So we're running a little over 13 million in that. We have some encumbrances against that and working on some additional. So, when we're going to talk about a little bit of that today, we passed a resolution. Might as well go into that now, I guess. We passed a resolution, actually an appropriation ordinance last month involving $3 million where we encumbered $3 million for the Work Here, Live Here program. Nice clip in here today. But we kind of jumped the gun on ourselves. The judge and I and Cliff and Brad Harrison and Randy Scott, both of those two representing Greta, met with Shep Russell of the Friday Farm down in Little Rock last week. And we kind of got the cart before the horse just a little bit. We're just making sure that we're dotting every I and we're crossing every T. We don't want to open up the county to any liabilities of any kind. And upon advice of council, Shep, we're restructuring, and the first step of that is to back up and rescind that appropriation ordinance that we did last month for $3 million and start with a clean slate. So, any questions or discussion about that from anybody? I mean, it's not a bad thing. We haven't done anything wrong. We just want to make sure we're doing everything right. So we just need to back up a step. So,
are they going to retool the program and bring it back, or?
They are. We're just trying to make sure that the legal description of economic development is a very restrictive term. Is it not, Justice Jackson?
It certainly is.
And there's some things we can use economic development fund for and some that we can't. And so we're going to have to kind of restructure the Work Here, Live Here program, and it will involve the formation of a new, exactly, Title 501 4C, non-taxable entity that will actually handle the Work Here, Live Here program. And so all the county monies will be specifically designated and appropriated to industries that may be participating in it. It won't be necessarily a legal requirement or anything, but will be a request. And those companies then, if they choose to operate and support the Work Here, Live Here program will, donate, give money to this 501(c) program, or C4 program. Not a C3, but C4 on this one. So all of our money will actually be definitely going to a Big River Steel, or a Nucor, or a Nucor Yamato, or Five Star Hydraulics, or an industry. And it will not be written to individuals. The Work Here, Live Here program is not a county program. We've got to be very specific about that. It's not a county-funded program. It will be an industry-funded program.
I mean, it'll have absolutely nothing to do with us at all.
But now, it will be a very viable program. It'll be everything that we've said it's gonna be. It will, fill all the intentions that we wanted it to be. It'll have the same parameters. The 10% of a $200,000 to $500,000 home for any new, family person that cares to move in and take one of these industry jobs. It will have the same benefits for industry that it has had. It will, have the guarantee of 4 years of working for a company in order to, qualify for the program. The banks that, it's open to all the financial institutions in Mississippi County. I'm not sure who all has, agreed to participate. I do know Farmers Bank has, and it's open to all the others. So all the benefits are gonna be there. It's just gonna be a privately operated program, not a county operated program. So, with y'all's permission, then we'll see an appropriation ordinance amending last month's appropriation ordinance and rescinding that $3 million. Comments,
Make a
Joe?
motion.
Anything that I missed?
No, I think you described it well.
Yes, sir.
Do you need a motion?
I do.
I move that we send that, to the full court to rescind that ordinance.
That's second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Thank you very much. Kelly, did you have a chance to talk to Jake about that cash in lieu benefits program?
I didn't hear back from him before I came. No.
We tried to get a hold of Jake. What we're talking about in the cash in lieu benefits is, this Medicare reimbursement program that we're doing. And we've appropriated enough money that we're okay this month and okay next month. But if we can get this cash in lieu benefits program set up, it will alleviate some of that.
We should see how much that's actually, how much additional monies that's actually costing us to pay the, the taxes on both sides and the retirement and all that. See if it's something we might need to scoot that along.
Okay.
Is that,
I think Justice Cullum won the fight. He made it back in, so.
Unless John wanted toilet paper.
Kelly, is that something that you could?
Yeah.
How much additional money? Because we're paying retirement, we're paying their taxes, we're trying to make sure that there's no burden on the employee, over and above what we were already paying.
So this will be, what? So every 3rd month?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I would say like just in the taxes, it's probably gonna be about $500 a month. And then you'll have a retirement amount too.
How many people do we have participating in the program right now?
There's only about 10 or so, and it's probably around $4,500 a month. So you would figure the taxes and the retirement amount on that is what we're paying, is extra.
Yeah, because we were paying the
So
other
probably $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month.
I would say your social security.
You did in February, ask Justice Virgin.
We get for getting those.
Did we like appropriate until like February?
No,
That's something.
we did that and then we reappropriated again last time to cover up the next 2 months. We're through April
He
now.
was gonna talk
through
to Eddie
April.
Jones,
But that's
is
the
that
same.
right?
He has.
Same thing. Okay.
He has, I just
That's
don't
a-
know where he is.
Yeah, we
in
did
yesterday,
it for
so-
February and thought we had
Yes.
this program in place and then we
Yes.
didn't, so then we did March and April,
Yeah.
last month.
So now we're just holding it like.
Thanks.
We're still trying to find out, where we're at and getting this program set up.
And once we get that in place, we won't have to deal with it every month.
We can just do one appropriation. Next on the agenda, we'll wait on Jake to work with us on that and bring you news of that. Next on the agenda, I've got Tom. Tom, do you have anything on the new email costs that we need to worry about or work with for you?
At this moment, it looks like the amount that we said would cover. You know, when I started getting a total of the number of emails, it does not look like it's going to go above the cost we had before, but I haven't got that totally nailed down.
So really nothing you want us to do specific right this moment?
Not right this moment.
You need us call us.
Thank you much.
So we're getting very much closer. Good.
Well, I can start on the ARP committee. Y'all had a good meeting the other day.
We did.
I thought it was very productive.
I think so too.
So we've got two or three things. We've got two or three things coming from the American Rescue Plan Committee. You know, we transferred all the money over to the Revenue Replacement Fund, but still, we're kind of leaning on that committee to give us some direction and recommendations and stuff. And so y'all came out with 3 or 4 the other day. One of them was talking about the sheriff's cars.
Yes.
You wanted to discuss that just a second?
So, with the budget this year, we had 6 cars budgeted. There's 2 wrecked cars that insurance will reimburse us for. And then in order to keep to get the cars to where they're on a better rotation with less miles and safer, we decided to purchase an additional 10 cars, which would give us 18 cars total for the for this year. Due to the reporting that I've looked at, and I think Peggy has too, I feel like we would be in a better place to take off. I feel like we should either take all the cars from one place or the other. I think the committee felt the same way. We felt, the Revenue Replacement Committee felt like it would be good to take it out of revenue replacement funds because we're able to, and it is, you know, it's something that's been actually, you know, recommended. So we feel like we should take all of the cars out of that fund and not split them apart, and either, you know, or I guess this committee can decide what to do with the budgeted money.
What about, y'all, there was some discussion about tracking the assets to the Revenue Replacement Fund. Is all that kind of resolved?
Well, you have to track them, and I think you have to report on how you get rid of them. And so if we have 8, you know, you'd have to keep them separated. You know, these cars are revenue replacement, these aren't. We would just simply know that all the cars from this year are revenue replacement, and they may have a different tracking on them as to when we get rid of them.
I didn't take real good notes. Did y'all come up with a final dollar figure for that?
$650,000.
Yay.
For 18 cars? 650 even?
Yeah, cause we like
We rounded up.
we rounded up.
And food. It shouldn't be that exact amount, but that should tell it.
All right, so, on the recommendation from the American Rescue Plan Committee, we're looking for an appropriation ordinance for $650,000 that would cover 18 total cars for the sheriff's department plus the equipment. Anybody? Yes, so moved. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the $650,000. Anybody else want to talk about this for a second? Any questions, any comments? Justice asked. This all started in the Fire, Police, and Safety Committee.
Well, I think it's gonna get us to the point where, well, most of all of our cars will be well under 100,000. They are keeping a couple of trucks, what are 2500s, they're specific use. There'll be higher mileage in one van, and I think we'll have time to replace those later with their regular vehicle purchases.
So the big question, when all of this process started, and we were talking about getting an additional 10 cars and knocking out all these new cars at one time, is that, are they all gonna come old at one time and need to be replaced again at the same time? And then, in relation to that, is this setting us up to where we can have, an affordable rotation process where, you know, we've been trying to do 6 cars every year? Does this put us where that will
I
be?
think we're gonna have to raise that to about 8 cars that would get us to what we're rotating out enough each year that we should be able to keep that. Because a lot of times what you'll see is a car that gets assigned to CID, you might actually be able to keep it for 10 years now, low mileage, but I don't think we'll be keeping it that long. The ones that are out on patrol, those are gonna be the ones you're gonna rotate out the quickest. With the way these cars are gonna come in, because of the way the automobile industry has went, it should be in between now and December, hopefully. But there's no guarantee that they'll all get here before the end of the year.
I doubt it.
So the possibility is that we could end up with these going over into next year. They'll probably all still be the same model year because I'm fixing to buy a new truck for the city and it's a 21 model. They've got a lot of 21s that they didn't sell last year, but those are gonna be the first ones they sell.
Not intending to catch you off guard, but off the top of your head, do you remember what number that the sheriff department started the year with? And then are we not dropping them down to a net
We
number?
started off with 60 vehicles. We will end up with a total of 51.
So we're dropping a net 9.
When he told me, he said 51 or 52, but when I counted, according to what he said he's gonna keep, it's 51. So we've gotten, they're eliminating some vehicles, that they didn't need. They had a couple of, one that was wrecked, one motor was drawn out in, and they had the officers assigned to those vehicles because they were newer vehicles, but they were driving an older one that they still had. So he's planning to sell off a total of 25 vehicles, and all of these 18 are replaced.
Just to check.
Well, I was gonna say, so the ideal number, which, maybe sometime in the future we could get to, would be 48. And then you could, they would be replacing all of them every 6 years, which would keep them in much better shape, probably, and actually make them worth more money, when we do auction them or do something like that. That was,
So we moved a lot closer with 51.
oh, by far, by far. I will tell you that one thing that I know that was mentioned, and I did do a little bit of investigation on, and I don't know if the sheriff has talked to, the school resource officers, the county provides them a car. And, or the ones that, that are through the sheriff's office. And so I did not realize this, so when I checked into it, the resource officer, his salary is actually paid through a federal grant. So there was gonna be some investigation. For one, and I don't know how anybody else feels, I certainly don't wanna put that burden onto the school if that's something that they, if they can't legitimately pay for with a grant or with some other, or, I don't want it to be a burden on the school.
But you're wondering if maybe a grant wouldn't pay for the cars?
Or if the schools don't have money, and if they're having to turn anything back to the state.
Well, I asked about that as well, and I think, so that's she was gonna look into that as well, because I think that's based more on a, like, per student, and so I don't know that they would be able to use that money either, to pay for you to have their car, so.
But you feel like we've made progress?
Oh my gosh, yes, this is.
So this has been a fruitful process that we've
Yes.
done.
I'll just say this, if that's, even when you do that, 3 of those vehicles are school resource vehicles. So, in essence, we're working with 48.
Okay.
And they get the school resource, I'm sorry, they don't drive them as much. So they're getting those cars that aren't driven as much, they'll be the last ones replaced.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second on 650,000 on the 18 cars. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? That wasn't the only, item on the agenda from the American Rescue Plan. What else you got, Ms. Molly?
Well, so we also discussed, I don't know that, we actually need any money appropriated just yet, but we did discuss both of the county, health facilities, and using, money, revenue replacement money to update those, and
What, we're going up to what,
1.2 million.
Yeah. but we talked about maybe holding off and not appropriating until we actually had a definite plan.
Right.
Schedule.
Yeah.
so the recommendation from the committee was to ask the judge to, you know,
Work with Mr. Ruby,
and see what we could, you know, what we would be able to do.
with the promise of at least 1.2 million in commitment.
Yes,
We also
plus
have-
the 250,000 from the, grant that
Grant
the
money.
county received, yeah.
So almost 1.5 million.
Yes, yes.
All right, so we don't need an appropriation from this committee, but you do have one, don't you, that
I do, and Kelly, I'm sorry, I meant to give you a call. The other day, we were talking about the $9,000 with the, heat tape for the Blyville Courthouse construction. And this is back to the Energy and Property Committee, so.
Right,
yeah.
it was quite a blend.
Right, so, if I'm not mistaken, when you and I did the budget moving forward, we did not appropriate the contingency money or the undesignated funds or the moving expenses. So, with that, we will need to appropriate the additional $9,000 for the heat tape that was put on the, pipes in the Sally Port area.
Heat,
Tape,
K-A-P-E,
T-A-P,
tape,
tape.
$9,000 appropriation.
No, we did not. Well, we appropriated all of the money, but this is actually a change order. We appropriated all of the money except for the contingency fund, the undesignated monies, and the moving expense fund,
So where will this 9,000 come out of?
the contingency.
So it's Blyville Construction Fund contingency line item.
Yes. Well, I don't know that it really has, it doesn't really have a line item. It's just,
That's the intentions.
that's the intentions, yes. That's where it will come from on the courthouse construction budget.
It's 9832.
9832. So yes, I would, make a motion that we appropriate $9,832 out of the construction fund. The courthouse construction fund.
Do I have a second? Got a motion and a second that we appropriate $9,832 out of the, Blyville Construction Fund for heat tape in the Sally Port area. Any other questions of Justice Jackson? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Did you have a third? I wanna
We
know.
did discuss the Osceola courthouse as well, but same
Nothing to
thing,
appropriate.
nothing to appropriate, same thing as with the health units. We decided to have the judge, talk with Mr. Ruby. We agreed, 1.5 plus any funds, any monies that aren't used with the construction fund. Move, see what we can do in Osceola, with priorities being on the HVAC and hot water. Okay.
The birds.
Well, I think the birds, well, sure, I think, the birds may just go ahead and come out of the construction fund, if we can figure out if we can find a reasonable solution, we'll go ahead and move on that.
Did we need to, do an appropriation for the Dell water? $53,000 for the Dell water?
Yes.
That was it.
No, that's just a fund balance right there, and then, so the question is, she's looking at our fund balance sheet where we've got $3,904,077.92 in the ARPA revenue replacement fund, $3.9 million. She's asking, well, does that include or not include the $2.1 million that we're encumbered today? And it does not. I mean, this is what's in the bank, and of this money, we're spending $2.1 million. But in May, we're slated to get the other half of the money.
Right, and we're not going to appropriate any of it yet, so there's still, so we will, Justice McClanahan mentioned, we will appropriate $53,000 of it to the Dell, drainage,
Are we ready to do that?
Yes.
So that is an appropriation that we need to make today.
That was recommended to come out of the ARP funds to help them. They had some matching.
I knew there was something else that we needed to.
Well, and you said 3.9 million, but some of that money's already been spent.
This was the fund balance, as of February the 28th.
2,000 for the hyperlink. I don't know.
10,000, yeah, something like that.
6,000 for joiner. That's 16, there was more.
We did incentives.
$100,000 for the senior citizen families. And then there's
But
money that's
It hasn't
appropriated.
been taken out yet, though.
Incentives.
It's appropriated.
Yeah, it's appropriated, but the fund, it doesn't reflect in the fund balance.
No, I mean,
The
that's,
judge is just saying, you know, we've taken some money out that reflects in that reduction in fund balance.
yes, and,
The incentive's probably already out.
yeah, everything that we've already spent has already had out, so there is some.
So that's that's a current balance.
Yeah, that's what's sitting in the bank as of the 28th.
Okay.
But did that answer your question?
Yes.
You know, if we were to spend all that this afternoon, then that would drop us down to, you know, 1.6, 1.8.
Wait, I do have a, so on the OCL courthouse project, so do you feel like all of those bills have been paid?
That's what I understand.
So you think
I don't know of anything outstanding. I'll just say that.
and there's not any work being done back there,
And where?
at the OCL courthouse?
Yeah. No work in that.
Okay, so
We've got
So we-
$165.92 in that line item, so we can use that money for the birds. And
The bird.
anything, maybe even hot water.
well, or we could, yes, that is, and that may be, we may just need to reconcile the actual expenses versus what was budgeted. We may have come up with, you know, it may have just.
I know, this money is considered encumbered because it's bond money and we have to spend it by a certain date, correct?
Which one are you talking
The
about?
Osceola courthouse construction bond money.
No, not really.
It just,
You're talking about the rules on the bond.
Oh, the
issue.
rules on the bond money, yeah, but we're well within that. Yeah.
yes, and I think they have to, what is it, it's actually when we call it complete, is when that's.
Yeah, but I think there is a date.
Yeah, but it's,
But I think it's a date
I
from
wanna say
when
it was
we
like
said it.
24,
Oh, when it's
25.
I think it's 25.
Completed.
Okay.
I think, now, I'll double check that, because I do know that, yes, that you cannot,
It's something about 3 years.
from the, I wanna say from the completion.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's say that we've got this money, and it's already encumbered for the Osceola courthouse, I'll use it first, and then
Oh, most definitely.
go
Yeah.
to something else.
Well, that's why I said anything that's left over, we definitely would wanna use first, because it's got the most
The same thing
restrictions.
will apply once we get through, if we've got extra money there, we might want to transfer it to Osceola. But we gotta get moved back in and everything. And that might be October. Who knows? No, they said they'd be done in October. They didn't say what year.
All right, so coming back to, actual appropriations for next two.
It might be.
Coming back to appropriations for next Tuesday meeting, the, Revenue Replacement Committee, ARP, American Rescue Plan, Committee, has, agreed to, that the $53,000 request from Dell for drainage infrastructure work down there is an appropriate expenditure out of the, revenue replacement funds. And so if everybody's in agreement, it's been discussed quite a bit, and I think about all of us were here. May I have a motion for a $53,000 appropriation for Dell drainage out of the American Rescue? So moved.
$53,068.50.
$53,068.50. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
It's been discussed quite a bit, but if you've got any questions, now's the time.
No, I'd just like to point out once again, and I'll point it out, that, you know, they did get a grant for the majority of the work. They also put in some local money, so we feel like this is a good place for the
And they
county
even
to
cut
come
their
in.
costs too.
And they did cut their cost, so.
They've done everything they can
Yes,
to get the project within range and still need a little help, and I think that's really appropriate.
me too.
So we have a motion and a second that we appropriate $53,068.50 out of the revenue replacement fund for the Dell Drainage Project. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Kelly had and I'm not wanting to open up the big can of worms today, but we can't to. Kelly had an employee come to her with proof of payment made on an insurance claim from the 2019 black period of insurance, health insurance. They were requesting to be reimbursed. We don't have any money in that line item at the moment. Kelly, do you have the dollar amount on that they're asking for? $75.
How much?
He's asking for $75.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be something like $75,000.
But I mean, if we had a little bit in there for cushion, you know, if some of those trickle in like that, I could go ahead.
Okay, so you'd like to just add some money in there, and then little bitty things like this, you can go ahead and take care of without making additional appropriations.
2,500 be?
Yeah, if it gets over that, I'll just come back.
You understand what's happening, guys? It's a small bill that got paid, but they're out $75, they'd like to have their $75.
I understand.
God, dear.
They sure are. So, Justice Jackson, I heard you make a suggestion.
I make a motion that we put $2,500 in that line item so that, Kelly can, you know, take care of the little ones as needed. If something substantial comes up,
Bigger
then she
than
can
that,
come
then
back.
we- yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Judge, any thoughts on that?
No, we are in the process, of calling a insurance meeting to address, similar issues. Mr. Henry is, in touch now with Mr. Nichols' office to see that he can take part in that. One of the issues that we addressed is, the requested information that this group has had to Mr. Nickel, as far as obtaining information has been slow and sometimes non-existent. The most concerning problem though is the lack of speed on their part. So an idea that's been floating around is looking at the possibility of bringing that back in-house and finishing it up. The numbers that we have right now, and we don't have all of them, but the numbers appear to be about 20% as far as the ones that are paid in full.
Is that all?
19 actually. 19%, depending on how you look at it, because there's different ways. You know, you've got the total bill, you've got insurance, then what has already been negotiated down, and then what it's going to be negotiated down a second time. But at 19%, and they started a year ago.
Yeah.
That will put us out 4 more years if they keep going the way they're going. So I think we might ought to look in the possibility. I've already spoken with Kelly and about the possibility if they can handle that, and she believes that they can. I haven't spoken with Katie about it yet, but if we can get the rest of the information that go along with it, we may ask for the money.
So really what you'd like to see is for them to give us the money that they collected on our part and the list of the providers, it's been paid and not been paid, and let us just start writing the checks.
We need all the
Is that boiled
information,
down?
all the information that would make that process successful.
And I know a lady that's retired, here again, she might feel like, hey, she wants somebody over her shoulder or somebody to help you do those things, and because she's done this for 30 years. And we decided to do that, she'd be glad to help. She sure knows what she's doing.
And
We
that
have
would be
our
something
virtual
that
meeting with the insurance company, I almost like to have our system right here.
I think that would be something we can lean on.
Plus the fact if we bring it in-house, that stops the legal charges that the attorney.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Billable hours.
That's right.
We've got 2 problems. You got company's gonna get a percentage, but the water works about. Yay.
So just so everybody's clear on the process, Mr. Henry is working on, setting up a meeting with Mr. Nichols. And, at that time, this request will be made, and I think, Tom and the judge and it'll be the insurance committee, will set a meeting for all this to take place. So we'll have an insurance committee meeting, and I think also that was kind of discussed is maybe, the election of a new, chairman of that particular committee, just to help move the process and keep it coordinated. I'm not on that committee, so, just kind of bringing it all down and trying to boil it down to where we're at. But no appropriations needed, well, the 2,500 of the moment, to take care of that. Another appropriation that I'd like for you to consider, we appropriate money for bills in a year, and if the bills aren't paid in that year, they move over to the next year and the money's dropped, the money has to be reappropriated. Greta, has not submitted their fourth quarter bill for last year. We appropriated the money to pay them last year and their contract went out, but they still haven't asked for it, so it's dropped, and, too bad. Too bad, so sad.
Yes, we get cash flow situation. We got a good cash flow problem.
Give them
Oh.
credit for the, dump out there.
I can't imagine them not sending the bill.
Well, normally it's Tamika that handles that, and normally Tamika's pretty reasonably prompt, but she's not been in this, so there's no money there. Do we wanna appropriate that fourth quarter payment?
Oh, so when it ended, the appropriation.
The appropriation died at the end of the year, so
Gotcha.
it just needs to be reappropriated. It just never was spent the first time, but it still needs to be spent.
So moved.
I have the amount, it's $94,003.25.
$94,000.
$94,003.25.
It's a really good cash flow situation if they ain't missed 94K.
I've got a motion, but I haven't gotten a second. It can die for lack of a second. I'm not gonna cry, but.
I'll second.
All right, so we got a motion in a second, that we reappropriate the $94,003.25 for the fourth quarter 21 Greta payment. I hesitate to ask for discussion. So I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll have that appropriation ordinance. Kelly, am I missing anything on these appropriations, Tom?
I don't think so, I think that was it.
Mr. Henry?
Nothing I know of.
Not that you know of, sir. Judge?
We do have a, possible tax bank,
Right here, got it right here. Thank you very much. Mr. Henry gave this to me. Tax back incentive for, the new electric truck plant down, in Osceola. And this is just a standard tax back deal. It doesn't cost the county anything, out of our pocket. It's where the local government agreed to participate in it, the city, the county, everybody has to agree to it. It's, Envirotech Vehicles located at 1425 Oldendorf Road in Osceola, Arkansas, has sought to participate in the, program and asked for our, blessing in this. It's just a resolution, it's not an appropriation, but a resolution, certifying local government endorsement. So, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Alright, so this is just, supporting the tax back for Envirotech Vehicles Incorporated. They're going in the Fruit of the Loom building.
They already got, cars out there, vans.
Do they really? Sweet.
Ready.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Janice, you got anything for us there?
Not at this time.
Not at this time?
Yeah, road 439.
Did you? Did you draw for me in the, drawing process a while ago?
Did I draw for you?
Yeah, weren't y'all drawing names for the ballots a while ago?
But we didn't draw anything for you. You're unopposed. Only did my favorite, JP.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's just pulling the knife and sticking it back in my bag. That's all she.
Oh, I forgot I asked you for help, didn't I? Never mind.
Oh, Mr. Hardy, you got anything for the committee, sir?
Everything
Everything good?
looks good.
Susan wanted us to announce something.
Sir?
I think Susan told us that she wanted us to announce that statements are due to go out on the 31st
March.
of March.
Did y'all hear that? Personal property tax statements due to go out on the 31st of March this year. And hopefully they'll all be in one envelope. So.
I got
JP, y'all got anything else for us, anybody? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 appropriation ordinance. Anything else, Kelly?
Do I need to correspond with,
Yes.
the attorney or?
Either Kelly or Tom. So what the justice is talking about is the action that he took just a few minutes ago in relation to the rewriting the resolution. And I'd say just either talk to Kelly or Tom, either one, if you don't care, and we'll move that on forward from your committee. Judge, we went through the tax back thing. Do you have anything else, sir?
I suppose we're going back to what we've spoken about earlier, and we were talking about encumbering money and the health department. Are we prepared to do the RFQ for the architect? I mean, are we ready to proceed?
I think so. Yes.
I'd say so,
I'd
yes.
say so.
Let's move forward.
I mean, we know we need to do something.
Well, we're having to answer some questions to the state about the grant, the $250,000 grant. And
I think we need to move forward.
I do
So if
too.
we're ready, then we'll go ahead and do the RFQ. We'll secure an architect, and then we'll give the architect the money that we're talking about. We'll work with the health departments and this, or your committee, to secure a plan, and then once that happens, we'll send bids out for a contractor, so that hopefully we'll be able to break ground sometime during the summer.
Yeah, if that's okay, let's go ahead and move forward.
Mr. Henry, could you write the RFQ for the architect, please?
Get practice with that. So I do have one last comment or question, in regards particularly to the revenue replacement fund and the encumbrances that we have done. One of the appropriations that we've actually made were $100,000 for vehicles in the senior citizens program, and I have no idea where we are. Judge, have you heard anything or done anything, or have we moved anything?
Not to my knowledge.
You know, we talked, do you remember what I'm talking about, Justice Jackson? Do you know of anything that's been done, or? All right, so how do we want to head that up, and what do we want to do, Judge?
We'll leave this up to the committee.
So which committee would you care to lead that to, Social Services or Energy and Property? I don't even know who the chairman is that Justice McDonald?
That was Justice Hinton, because we looked it up last week.
You know, with that said, we probably ought to ask that committee to elect themselves a chairman.
I think that'd be proper.
I don't even know who, Justice McDonald, who's on that committee, sir?
Social Services, Joe Lewis, Betty Helper, Aaron Freeman, Rick Ash, Toby.
Are you not on that committee? Are you on that committee? Oh, I don't know why I thought you were on that committee. I even thought you were chair.
We haven't had a meeting.
We haven't had a meeting today.
So you've got just almost everybody here that's here. If y'all wanna hang back after we dismiss this meeting and maybe elect yourselves a chair and move forward from that. I mean, I'm just making suggestions. What do you
I think
think?
that would be positive. And then set a meeting date.
So it'd be Joe Lewis, Dr. Cullum,
Total Lewis, Hefner, Toby, and May.
Okay, all right, so y'all know who you are. So with that said,
In Aaron.
With that said, no further discussion, no objections, we'll call this meeting adjourned and allow those people to take care of their business.